and welcome to Ask an Atheist. We are a weekly educational call-in program dedicated to atheism, skeptical inquiry, and the separation of church and state. We air live from SCAN Studios in Seattle every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and are archived online at www.askanatheist.tv. I'm your host this week, Mike Gillis, and joining me again is Case.
Great to be with you, Mike.
Good to be here. We're doing sort of an unusual episode today. For one, we're going to ask people to please limit the scope of their calls to the topic. Not something we normally do, but it's something that, given the breadth that we want to hit on the topic, the amount of detail.
We have a lot of material to cover in this episode. So what we're basically asking is, if you call, keep your calls central to the topic of the collapse of the World Trade Center Towers 1 and 2. We'll actually get into that. And to keep your calls short, get right to the point.
Yeah, so I guess you're wondering why have a topic like this on an atheist show? Well, I think primarily it's that the reason that we are atheists is because we're applying skeptical principles to questions of religion and religious claims. Now we're simply just redirecting that same methodology to other topics, other weird fringe beliefs that people hold on to, conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, things like that.
Right, it being September 12th, we thought an appropriate topic to look at would be, was 9/11 an inside job? As reported by the 9/11 folks for the Truth, AE, Architects and Engineers for the 9/11 Truth, by Loose Change and other documentarians who claim that 9/11 was an inside job. They claim that controlled demolitions brought down World Trade Center Towers 1 and 2.
And scientists and scholars like Charlie Sheen.
Right. So myself being a skeptic, basically I thought I'd look at the evidence. And basically, one thing that people think about when they think about skeptics is they think of skepticism as a position. It's not. It's a method. It's a method of looking at evidence. So basically what I did, with an open mind, I looked at all the evidence for controlled demolitions, and to be perfectly honest with you, I found it wanting. And then we'll actually get into that. I think we should just go ahead and roll the first clip.
Oh, we should probably do some quick announcements real quick.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go ahead with some announcements first.
The first announcement we have before we hit the topic is Seattle Atheists, which is one of the organizations that we are, I guess they're sort of a sister organization to the show in a lot of ways. They're a friend of the show.
Right.
A lot of the people who work on the show are board members or members of Seattle Atheists.
Yeah, and we're both very active in the organization.
Yeah. So they're going to be having their elections for a new board next Sunday at September 19th. If you want to get some information on that, you can just go to www.seattleatheists.org. You do have to be a member to vote in the elections, but they will sign you up at the event.
Right.
So
it's really a great way to steer the course of atheism, local atheism, in terms of what's important to you. Hear what the candidates have to say, and vote for who you think is best represents what you think atheism should be.
And it's also worth mentioning, yes, we have a TV show, but the one thing that we can't provide through the TV show is a sense of community. That's something that Seattle Atheist exists to do. It gives people the opportunity to meet with like-minded people, and I guess in a lot of ways it gives them a place to go. I mean, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of social aspects. We also get involved in a number of activities. But again, you can find that all on www.seattleatheist.org.
Right.
Second one, and we announced this last week, which is we are up for 4 SCAN Awards. SCANtv, which is the public access network that we are on, the Seattle Community Access Network. They have an annual award show, and we're up for, I believe, 4 awards. It's like favorite religious program.
That's my favorite one.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
I want to win that one. Simply, I want to see the jaws drop on that.
Yes. Best live show, is that right?
Best live show, best new show, and best local show.
Right.
So go to scantv.org, and it takes 30 seconds to vote, and let's climb to the top of the public access mountain.
Yeah, and you've already got your dress picked out for the event.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, so with that, why don't we go ahead and roll the first clip. That we can set the emotional tone the tone basically that we want to set for the rest of the show. So go ahead and roll that for us.
Good morning, and it is not a good morning in New York City.
I just thought, oh my gosh, why are people flying planes into buildings?
A major disaster, a plane crash into the World Trade Center.
I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. I'm gonna die. Ma'am, say your prayers.
We were afraid for how many other people were going to perish on that day. It was hard to bear.
John hears a sound he'll never forget.
It was like someone's dropping some heavy equipment, and it was coming frequently. Boom! Boom!
It's the sound of bodies slamming into the pavement.
People were jumping from the floors above, and now we realized that the situation upstairs was very grim.
Then, the South Tower begins to buckle.
We're looking at financial center. Between us, 2 broken windows.
I feel a tremendous rush of air. I feel heat. I feel ash. And it's just...
Okay. So basically, when it comes to the World Trade Center towers, I mean, that clip is really tough for me to always watch. I've seen it at least 24 times now, and still always tough. It's easy to forget what it was like to be there for those people and the horror, you know, on the ground. And you know, we have people hanging out of buildings and, you know, calling 911 and saying, you know, I think I'm going to die. The operator just trying to calm them down. You're going to be fine. Don't worry. But you know, we all have that vision of hindsight. We all know that that person is dead, and I think that that's something that gets lost in this whole thing is that you know, when truthers talk about it being an inside job and things like that, for me, the thing that I find most repulsive about it is that they are kind of climbing on the backs of this horror, using it as a means to indoctrinate people into this paranoid lifestyle, and that really bothers me. It's not only it's not only intellectually dishonest, but it's a cheap way of self-aggrandizing themselves. And I refer directly to Richard Gage of 9/11 Truth, Stephen Jones, David Ray Griffin, all the, you know, Dylan Avery, all the leaders of this group that are and I've looked at their evidence. It is, and without question, it's intellectually dishonest. And I thought that what we'd do is in this show we'd go through their evidence, take a look at it, and break it down one by one. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, I met with 9/11 Truthers down at Westlake Mall. You know, they're giving out pamphlets and flyers and DVDs like they always do. And obviously, it's the anniversary yesterday. And I didn't go down there to debate them or, you know, to engage them in any, you know, any attack way. I really just want to get a sense as to where they were at. Why did they believe that it was an inside job? And person for person, and well, I should say only 2 people really had a very lucid way of explaining what they thought. But the folks that I did talk to all used the same talking points. And all those talking points were from architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, Richard Gage, Stephen Jones, Dylan Avery, you know, the 4 horsemen of the 9/11 Truth.
Instead of being something really grassroots, we're talking about much more astroturf. This is very top-down.
Right.
You're clearly getting talking points from somebody else and really getting the sense that any of these people have put any real effort into investigating this on their own.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, they encourage everyone to research it for themselves. But when they say research, they mean go to this website and look at these websites only. And I have. I've actually gone to their websites, looked at all the points that they made, and broke them out and taken a look at them, and saw that they didn't hold up. You know, as a skeptic, I don't care whether or not they were right or wrong. I care about the method they used to get to their position. Was it intellectually honest? And to be honest with you, it doesn't hold up. So that's what I thought we'd take a look at. So let's take a look at slide 1. Slide 1 is pretty much the consensus that most people have about the 9/11 attacks. That World Trade Center Tower 1 was hit at 8:46. World Trade Center Tower 2 was hit at 9:02. World Trade Center Tower 2 fell first, and then World Trade Center Tower 1 fell second. In the film 9/11 Mysteries, they claim that that's very suspicious. Isn't it suspicious that World Trade Center Tower 2 was hit second but fell first? Mm-hmm. And it's like if there was anything to lead you along a series of pseudoscientific questions, that's it. That logically, apparently, that World Trade Center Tower 1 should have fell first.
Well, there's this sort of assumption that every one of these plane attacks is going to be exactly the same. That it's going to hit in exactly the same place, it's going to hit exactly the same speed, it's going to hit exactly the same angle. and that these buildings are absolutely identical. And even if that was true, you can't make the assumption that they're going to fall at the same time.
Right.
I mean, there's countless different possibilities that these things could go differently, and indeed there were.
Right. So let's go on to slide 2A, and that is the scientific consensus. In a nutshell, here's the scientific consensus: is that the impact of the planes, combined with the fires from the jet fuel and the combustible furniture and things inside there, caused a weakening of the steel. That weakening of the steel caused the first floor to collapse into the top floor to collapse into the next floor, and the kinetic energy of that, the following floor was unable to hold up, and then you have this progressive collapse that followed through the rest of the building. It's one of those things, like, it's counterintuitive, because you would think a building would tip over. But the math is there. The numbers do hold up when you actually look at how the building collapsed and the different ways that the structure came down. It does hold up. It's valid. So let's take a look at. We're actually going to jump to slide 3, and that is the controlled demolitions. And I thought we'd just jump to what the truthers claim. In a nutshell, it goes like this: the collapse of the World Trade Center Towers 1 and 2 was not caused by plane crash damage. Yeah, we're going to jump ahead a couple slides. Was not caused by plane crash damage that occurred, nor by the resulting fire damage, but by explosives installed in the building in advance. And the folks who put together this hypothesis, we're going to go to slide 4. The folks who put together this hypothesis, I've actually broken down their claim and said, okay, well, why do you think it was controlled demolitions in the building? And if we're going to go one more slide to slide 4. Keep going, you can do it. Anyway, if you look at their hypothesis, and a hypothesis should go as follows. Demolitions were planted here, and then a hypothesis will have a test where you kind of test that hypothesis. So you'd maybe model that out, put some demolitions in there, and then watch a model collapse, or do things that test your theory. And instead, what the truthers have done, their hypothesis consists largely of attacking the official story. Let's take a look at the hypothesis here. Their hypothesis is as follows: the World Trade Center was designed to handle the jet impact of a similar 707, that jet fuel cannot melt steel, that it carried all the hallmarks of a controlled demolition, that there were rivers of molten metal that indicate nanothermite that was seen in the debris. It was impossible, they say, for towers to fall onto their own footprint without explosives, and that the buildings fell at free fall speed. Also, that no high-rise steel structure has ever collapsed due to fire. And finally, that nanothermite residue was found in dust samples. And I think anybody who believes in the inside job theory will see that I've pretty much very fairly expressed their arguments. In a nutshell, that's it. I mean, I haven't twisted their words. I mean, this is what they say. If you look at their placards and their signs, you go to their websites, it's pretty much this. A seasoned skeptic will look at these and say, well, where's the evidence in your favor? For the most part, you've attacked someone else.
Yeah.
And I like to think of it as...
Not a straw man, for instance.
Say again?
Not attacking a straw man. I will say that I've looked at truthers stuff, I've talked to truthers, and their theories are just so all over the board. Whether planes existed, it was a hologram. I've heard some really
beams. Yeah.
I've heard some really bizarre stuff that just goes all over the board. But at the heart of all of them is this controlled demolition theory.
Right.
That that this seems to be like the hypothetical, the proverbial spot on the Death Star. That if this part of the theory can be debunked, then the rest of it simply just, no pun intended, collapses. And this is the one thing that seems to be the common denominator under everything that
exactly right. Yeah. So that's why I thought it would be really interesting to go after this part of the theory instead of the hundreds of claims that are made by truthers. Why not go for one that is pretty much the spinal column of the whole thing, and that is the collapse of World Trade Center 1 and 2 was done by controlled demolitions.